Coleford is a small market town in the west of the Forest of Dean, 2 miles east of the Welsh border and close to the Wye Valley. This is the marketplace in the town centre, with its clock tower, the remaining part of a church that was demolished in the 19th century. The marketplace, surrounded by Georgian facades, often hiding even older structures, is no longer the site of a large regular market, but is nevertheless an invaluable space, making Coleford a popular place in the forest for outside public events. With a population of nearly 8,500, Coleford is technically the largest community in the forest. The town itself, however, is fairly small, with the population of the parish increased by several nearby villages: Mile End, Broadwell, Coalway and Milkwall. As a centre for services, it covers an even wider area to include villages such as Berry Hill, English Bicknor, Newland, Sling, Clearwell and Elwood. The town centre's compact size means the countryside is never far away, and it is easy to reach by car with excellent parking and arguably the best shopping facilities in the forest. The headquarters of the Forest of Dean District Council are located here, as well as the area offices of the Forestry Commission, so Coleford can legitimately claim to be the administrative capital of the Forest of Dean. Most times I came to the Forest of Dean, I would always make a visit to Coleford. But more importantly, from my point of view, is Coleford is where my dad lives. The first railway to reach Coleford, a branch line from Park End, opened by the Severn & Wye Railway Company in 1875, ran through Milkwall to a station on the southeast side of the town. A second railway from Monmouth, the Coleford Railway, was completed in 1883. It included a short tunnel at Whitescliff, and it crossed the Newland Road to run to a station next to that of the Severn & Wye Company. A junction was made between the two railways in 1884, after the Monmouth line had been taken over by the Great Western Railway. The Severn & Wye line was abandoned in 1967, and the track between Whitescliff and Park End had been removed by 1971. Some railway buildings at Coleford, including a goods shed, were incorporated in the Coleford Great Western Railway Museum. The museum, which opened in 1988, traces the history of the railways in the Forest of Dean. There is a miniature railway, a full-size Peckett locomotive in the engine shed, and a restored signal box. Next to the museum, I followed the cycleway along the course of the old railway towards Millwall. After a short distance, I left the cycleway as I went over a stile onto a golf course. At this point, the route wasn't too obvious, but as I aimed for the poles carrying electricity lines, I soon reached some waymark posts across the golf course. At the far side, I arrived in the village of Coalway. It was on an ancient route, known in 1345 as the Coalway, used by travellers from the Purton Passage on the River Severn in the later 17th century. There was a beer house at Coalway by 1841, and this has expanded to 3 public houses by the late 1870s. The last remaining of these is the Crown Inn. Opposite the Crown Inn, I forked left onto Park End Walk and headed between oak woodland on the left and houses on the right to a gate leading to a delightful woodland ride, with clear fell on the right, giving an open feel to the walk. The track continued easily across the plateau as I headed into Nags Head Plantation. Soon I was beside Nags Head Lodge, where I would be turning off the main track. And it's been a very long time since I last came to this spot. The last time I came to Nags Head Plantation was 23 years ago, and that was with 2 of my Bristol friends. And I remember on that particular occasion, we were running through the woods. That's another story. Anyway, my way is this way. I turned right by the lodge onto a good path, walking through territory where wild boar can be found. I was retracing my steps of part of a route from 23 years earlier, although this time I was walking as opposed to running. I eventually began to descend and could just see a view of Fetter Hill in the valley below. Dropping down to meet a cycle track, I followed this to a point where it crossed the Coleford to Parkend Road. I kept on the cycle track for a short distance, then went right on a path which curved through woodland to pass Darkhill Ironworks. The international significance of the ironworks is underpinned by the pioneering work of the brilliant metallurgist David Mushet and his son Robert, who protected a steel-making technique here. The extensive remains of the ironworks, opened in 1818, can be explored together with the routes of a narrow-gauge railway, which brought in coal and iron ore. The site has also been developed as a habitat for butterflies, including the rare small pearl-bordered fritillary. I continued on the old tramway as it reached the common land at Gorsty Knoll, just opposite the edge of Milkwall. I'm actually getting quite warm now, and it looks like it's trying to brighten up a bit, so I'm going to take a chance. Hopefully I won't get rained on today. I'm going to dispense with my coat. Brings back a lot of memories doing this walk actually, because when I was in my younger teenage years, that's the time when I used to come to the Forest of Dean and travel around on the buses and do a walk. And quite often my bus would terminate at Coleford, and I'd have to get another bus from Coleford back home. But when I was in Coleford, I would often visit my dad at the same time, and I did that quite regularly for a while. When I first came to visit Dad, he was living here in Milkwall, and then a few years later he moved across to the other side of town. But yeah, I did come to see him quite regularly when I was in my sort of younger teens. I turned left at a road junction and headed southwest to eventually reach the site of iron ore workings at Clearwell Caves, where Bronze Age exploitation has been discovered. Ochre pigments are still produced here, and there are impressive caverns to be explored. Clearwell Caves is a natural cave system, which now operates primarily as a mining museum. The caves were formed by underground streams from around 180 million years ago. They have been mined for iron ore from Iron Age times around 100 BC, increasing from Roman times and extensively in the last century, which considerably enlarged and extended the network of natural caverns. The upper caves are open to the public. Well, this is the last place I'm visiting on this particular walk. This is the village of Clearwell. Clearwell began as a group of hamlets which combined to form the village. It formed around 3 roads, which ran down shallow valleys to a central junction, marked by the 14th century stone cross. The hamlets on the 3 roads were Clearwell, Peak and Platwell, with a 4th hamlet, Wainlet, to the northwest of Clearwell. Most of the houses that formed Clearwell village were replaced by stone cottages in the late 18th and 19th centuries, although several older buildings survive, including the Clearwell, which is a substantial 17th century house. In 1830, a chapel was built in Clearwell at the East End, on the road leading to Lydney. It was replaced in 1866 by a new church built by the Countess of Dunraven, owner of the Clearwell estate. The Countess also built a village school in 1859 and opened a cottage hospital in 1869. Just south of the village lies Clearwell Castle, a battlemented mock Gothic mansion. In the 1970s, Clearwell Castle was used regularly as a rehearsal and recording studio by rock bands, which included Led Zeppelin. The castle is now a venue for weddings. Well, I enjoyed my little tour around Clearwell, so I'm now going to make my way back to Coleford. From Clearwell, I turned right on a signed footpath 100 metres west of the cross to climb gently up a pleasant green lane. My route took me northwards along the edge of several fields. Eventually I crossed the narrow and quiet Pingree Lane and took a path back to Coleford, which passed the Ribena and Lucozade factory. That's the factory where my dad used to work. Certainly for a number of years when he was working there, I remember it being called Beecham's Foods. Of course my dad will be retired now, long retired. He'll be 76 now, so yeah. Anyway, I'm back on the edge of Coleford again now, so I'm almost back to where I started my walk. And I have to say, yet again, it's been another lovely walk. And of course, I've done another walk in the wonderful Forest of Dean, so how can I actually better that?